Sorry we've moved this around a couple of times. Usually don't do that. First time in maybe 27 years that I've missed a practice. And with that, miss a practice feels like you have a million things that you need to do and you can't do them. So I'm glad we finally had the opportunity here to get together before we leave for LA. Actually, it's probably more beneficial now because we're a little further along and certainly very familiar with USC at this point versus 2 days ago.
You missed Monday and then came back yesterday, or what?
Yep. Yep, I missed Monday.
So how are you feeling now, anyway?
I'm feeling better. Yeah, thank goodness I don't have to play, but it is different when you plan the practice, go through the practice. But we're back business as usual right now, and hopefully none of our guys will get it. I think it's something that's passing through a lot of different families here in Tucson.
Like a flu-like thing, or what are y'all?
I think a virus.
Yeah. Some of your staffers got it too, or just
a couple of them. No players right now, knock on wood. I think Matt waned early or late last week, early this week. He had it a little bit, but hopefully those guys can stay healthy.
And your assistant's okay, you say? Or? So can you update us on Chase and what is the chances you play him tomorrow? He's been out a little bit, I guess, maybe, or what's?
So, I would just categorize Chase as he's making progress. You have a lower back injury. Anybody who's gone through that, there's a stiffness that just is overwhelming, and it affects your movement, and it strips you of your confidence to some degree, just because every time that you turn, land, get ready to jump, you really think about it. But we x-rayed him this weekend, and x-rays were negative. He's on some meds. He's seen our team doctors, and he's feeling better. It's not as if he's feeling worse. It's just, it happened on Saturday afternoon, and, today is Wednesday. So I'm sure a week from today he'll feel a lot better than he does right now. But I can't really predict how ready he'll be for tomorrow's game and how ready or available he'll be for Saturday, I'm hopeful that, by tonight, tomorrow, he keeps making progress. He did a little bit of practicing here today, but we're going to, number one, just make sure he's all set, feels good about the progress that he makes, and that he's confident.
With or without Chase tomorrow, USC seems to play through their big men a lot. How do you use that to your biggest advantage tomorrow?
Well, you're right. USC is a lot like the team that we had a year ago, maybe the last couple of years, in that we had both a 4 and a 5 who could beat you around the rim. And it's kind of how the game used to be played, where two big guys, not just one. There's a lot of teams in the country right now, especially in the Pac-12, that have that 4 around the 1 where they have a skilled player playing the 4. The thing that's really tough to deal with SC is, Rakasevich and Boatwright both can score around the basket. Both are excellent passers. Andy does an amazing job of getting them the ball in the right position. They're both very mobile as well. But Benny Boatwright, he can score the ball from anywhere. And so not only can he hurt you around the basket, but he can step away and shoot threes. And he's averaging over 20 a game in the Pac-12. And, I can remember as far back as when we played SC when Ryan Anderson was with us, and Ryan was a first-team all-conference player. I think Benny Boatwright was a freshman at the time, and he had a great game against us. And now we're catching him as a senior, and so he's experienced. We know him well, and he's a tough matchup for any team that plays against him, and we're no different.
Coach, when you're not physically able to make it to a practice, how far does it set the team back in preparation for the next game?
It's like anything. You're a leader of a company and you miss a day. Your company has to be able to function without you. The day that I missed was Monday, which sometimes we do more, sometimes we do less. But yeah, it seems like a couple days ago now, which it is, obviously, and we're far away from that point.
Brandon said it's a business trip to him, going back home, but do you have to tell a freshman like that anything in particular to get him to stay focused on trip going back home?
Yeah, no, going to LA is it's a big game for our players, but especially the players that are from LA. And you know, I can remember Coach Olson talking to me a lot about that when I first came here. How, you know, going to play the LA schools when you have one of your current players that is from Los Angeles, how important it is that they're focused, and how big of a game and how big of a trip that is for them. And there are times when we've handled it well. There are times when we've handled it not as well. And by the way, both teams are really good most of the time. So it's a very difficult trip no matter who you're bringing to town. So, you know, for us, it's first things first, to be the most ready we can be on Thursday for USC, and then to get that quick turnaround and be the most ready we can be for UCLA. But, you know, Brandon Williams, you know, Ira Lee, Devin Air, those guys are great kids. They want to do things the right way, and I think their intent will be pure.
You mentioned boat race. What's your thoughts on the way Rakocevic is playing, and if Chase is either out or limited, how does that affect what you do with him?
Well, you know, number one, he averages almost 4 offensive rebounds a game, which is astonishing, especially 20 games into the season. So that's a special talent that he has. But, you know, just watching his development, one of the things that's always been striking is he's very coordinated. He's got great hands. He can catch the ball in traffic. You know, he's not just a back-to-the-basket player. He's really mobile. He can score facing the rim. He's athletic. Again, you average 4 offensive rebounds a game. Other than the guy from Baylor, I don't know if we've played against anybody that we would put in his category. So keeping him off the glass and making sure that we match, you know, his motor. He plays with a big motor. He runs the court. He rolls hard after he sets screens, and again, he has a lot of purpose. Him and Boatwright also have a great relationship on the court. You know, they look after each other. They can play off of what each other does well, and it's a heck of a 1-2 punch. I mean, when we got ready for Oregon State, we talked a lot about the Thompson brothers and Trace Tinkle. That those 3 guys, when they play well, Oregon State's at their best. But with SC, if you just look at the production of Boatwright and Rakocevic, hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name right. If not, my apologies. But Nick.
And apparently they're related too.
Yeah. But certainly I know who he is. Those guys, they combine for like 50 a game. 2 people sometimes, you know. So what production they get against our team will be a big indicator of how we did in the game.
How do you deal with the uncertainty with Porter and whether he's going to play, and what do you, I mean, what do you make of it either way?
You know, he's a really talented player. We know he can score. He can score in bunches. You know, he can do it driving the ball. He can do it especially in transition. And we're just aware of him. There's not a lot you can do. You know, we always look at those guys. If there's a chance that they can play, we assume that they're going to play, and we prepare accordingly.
In the Oregon State game, it seemed like it was an emphasis to attack closeouts. How do you see that carrying over, and were you pleased with the way that you guys attacked the closeouts in the Oregon State game?
It's a great observation. Certainly a big emphasis for us. You know, the one thing about a zone defense is, you know, each of the zone defenders is assigned an area. And, you know, sometimes us positioning one of our drivers or smaller player in that area, you know, gives us an advantage. And now we have to make good decisions. You know, when we drive it, good things have to happen. You know, a lot of times it's a clever pass, but, you know, you don't want to just be a pass and catch team and shoot threes. You know, our threes have to be off of penetration, and we want to drive the ball. And that's more of an emphasis now than ever because of the way our team is, and it's actually something I wish I would have emphasized even more in the past. But we're here now, and that's very, very important to our offense.
Just wondering about the McDonald's announcements for tomorrow. Do you expect Nico and Josh have a shot at that, or what?
I would think so. Yep, for sure.
And I guess that wouldn't probably surprise you if it did happen the way they played. I mean, you feel like they're at that level, that top 20 level.
Certainly, I would be really, really surprised if they weren't.
How does it help you as a coaching staff when you have a point guard like Justin, who spends so much time in the film room preparing?
Yeah, I mean, Justin has been a godsend to us. I mean, he really has. I mean, he came to us in April, and, you know, one of the guys that he's really helped is Brandon Williams. If you're at our practices, and, you know, I always keep track of the number. Today's number 70. Those guys have played against each other every day. When we practice, Brandon Williams always plays point guard. And then sometimes we mix him in playing with Justin. But just being able to go against somebody like Justin every day has helped Brandon develop, and it's prepared him for his future. It prepares him for the games, and vice versa as well. But you asked me about Justin. You know, his attitude is outstanding. He's one of the highest character guys we've had. Loves the game. Really cares about his performance, but listens, learns. And I was telling him the other day, he's kind of like a freshman that's no longer a freshman because he's played so many games. I know that's crazy because he's older, but this is his first time he's ever played for Arizona. And now that he's played through the Pac-12 a couple games, and he's been with us through so many practices, he has a good feel for what we expect and what we expect from him. But he's really a great kid, and he's a very good player. And so far he's had an outstanding season, and I think the best is yet to come for him.
Coach, what went through your head when you heard about Book Richardson pleading guilty in the federal case?
I'm not going to comment on that right now, but if you'd like to ask me a question about our team, I'm more than happy to answer it.
What would you attribute Brandon Williams' improvement, especially shooting the ball in the last few games? What do you think that the reason for that is?
Brandon Randolph or Brandon Williams? Well, actually, I think Dylan Smith, Brandon Williams, those two guys in particular have really shot the ball well. You know, some of it is, the question I was asked a minute ago. When you shoot threes off of penetration and you take good threes, they have a higher chance of going in. And when our offense can create more open opportunities, whoever shoots the ball has a higher percentage. And I think it's taken our guys a while. You know, like any offense, you have to learn what makes us good. And I feel like we're playing better off of each other, knowing what each other can do. But our penetration drives. And regardless of whether it's man-to-man or zone, and really being able to move the ball and drive it, that's going to give us the best chance to shoot threes. The less threes we take, the better. I know the other night we shot more. You know, some of that was a function of Chase not playing. But a lot of our threes were really open, uncontested threes because we broke the defense down off of penetration. And I really think that both Dylan and Brandon have made a higher percentage recently because they're taking better overall quality threes.
You obviously never want to have a tough loss at home, but how did your team bounce back against Oregon State, and how do you think this will be a growing experience for them?
Well, you know, look, as much as we like to win every game, especially every game at home, which we almost have done that, when you lose one, you got to move on, and you have to learn from it. There's a lot of good lessons to be learned from Oregon. You know, sometimes you have to give the credit to the opponent. Oregon came in, like they've done a number of times, played with great confidence. They turned us over. You know, when you turn the ball over 14 times, especially some of our turnovers in that game led right to points, it's hard. And this weekend will be no different. If we have a game where we have 14 or 15 turnovers in a game, I think it's very difficult for our team to win. If we could have a single-digit game, 8, 9 turnovers in a game, I think we have a great chance of being right there to win. So I think that's the one lesson we learned from Oregon is our defense was plenty good enough. Just look at the points that Oregon scored. But 14 turnovers really plagued us in that game. And some of it is Oregon, they did a great job of pressing us and creating uncertainty. And it's a lesson that we learned for sure.
How important will Ryan and Ira be for you guys this week, especially if Chase can't go?
They're really big, partly because we don't have any other alternative. It's not like we have 4 other guys sitting there. We knew a long time ago that health this season was paramount because we didn't have that margin for error, and here we are in mid-January and we're experiencing, a couple question marks, but we have to do the best that we can. Ryan Luther, he has to be the best version of himself. We don't need him to be anything different. Same thing from Ira. But we believe in both of those guys. I know they believe in themselves. They're practicing very well. 2 of our hardest workers. And I think that showed up in the Oregon State game, especially Ryan Luther. That was arguably one of, if not his best game at Arizona. And it's great that he was able to deliver that performance when we needed him.
How important is it that a guy like Dylan also rebounds like you would hope and expect for a guy his size that can be as versatile as he can be?
Yeah, no doubt. He's the versatile player for us. I feel like we've had that type of player. Rondé Hollis Jefferson is the ultimate example of a guy who could do that, Kadeem Allen did it for us as a guard. Nick Johnson did it for us as a guard. And Solomon Hill would have done it more of as a forward or as a wing. This year, Dylan's that type of player for us. But I have no problems with Dylan. He gives us great effort and works hard every day, knows 3 positions on the court, is definitely our team's best overall defensive player. And, I think the thing that's plagued him when he hasn't played well is his turnovers. And some of it is, it's not his intent. It's just knowing when to go, when not to go, slowing down and, taking what the defense gives. But his ability to rebound has helped us, and we're counting on him a lot this week.
Does it seem like Thornton's playing better for them in your mind, and his numbers are better, and does that change what they do?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think Derek Thornton is very understated for them. He makes his teammates better. He really pushes the ball in transition, and when he does it, he's unselfish. He looks for his teammates. His shot hasn't been as steady maybe as it once was. That could change just like that. I know he's more than capable shooter, but he's the consummate point guard and a playmaker, and means a lot to their team. And I agree. He's averaging almost 7 assists a game right now, and that's a big number.
Does coaching this team remind you at all of coaching those old Xavier teams? Just primarily defensively, low-scoring games, that type of thing?
Yes. And, we don't have maybe that one player that you look at as the superstar in college, the best player. On this year's team, on a given night, you can make the argument that our best player is a different player. And sometimes those teams are a lot of fun to coach because you really have to do it as a team. But our defense has been intact. I think our numbers speak for themselves. And it's just up to us, mid-January to the end. That's really the true test of defense. Can we maintain it? Can we continue to grow and improve? And, injuries have a lot to do with that. You get banged up and you're not playing the team that you once had. Sometimes your performance can slip. So we're really working hard to stay steady with our defense. And this week arguably could be our toughest stretch to date with two road games against 2 high-powered offenses like SC and UCLA.
Charter flight can wait for you?
I hope so. If not, then they can have a different coach.